By the time I entered high school in 1960, I had grown comfortable in my quiet balancing act. Hoi Lam at home, Ellen everywhere else. My English had become fluid, my accent nearly gone. But my sense of being in between remained constant. No matter how seamlessly I shifted between languages or customs, high school felt like stepping into a world in motion, faster, louder, more ambitious. The halls echoed with possibility and pressure. Students talked about college, about scholarships, about the future. Everyone seemed to know who they wanted to become. I wasn't sure who I was yet, but I knew what I loved: numbers and stories. I had a sharp mind for math, solving equations with ease, but I also found myself drawn to history, particularly the way it shaped people's choices, and how entire empires rose and fell on the backs of ordinary citizens. Sometimes, sitting in class, I would look at the maps on the wall and wonder where I fit. None of the textbooks mentioned girls like me. Chinese Americans, if mentioned at all, were footnotes in immigration chapters. Railroad laborers, exclusion acts, model minorities. Never thinkers, never daughters, never voices. Still, I wrote. I joined the school paper in my sophomore year, at first just to proofread, then eventually contributing small opinion pieces. My big break came in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The school had planned to publish a dry summary of the headlines, but I asked to write something different, a personal perspective. I wrote about the week my parents bought 2 extra sacks of jasmine rice, about how they whispered Cantonese prayers over the stove and debated whether war was truly coming. My classmates were busy talking about fallout shelters and canned beans. My family stocked rice and salt and incense. My article didn't make the front page, but it made it into the issue. A few students asked me about it in the hallway. A teacher told me it was poignant. For the first time, I realized I didn't have to erase my experience to be part of the American narrative. I just had to find the courage to write myself into it. Outside of school, I began spending time in local coffee shops. Not the Chinatown bakeries I grew up with, but the new ones closer to downtown, where students gathered to read, debate, and flirt with ideas and each other. I liked the smell of burnt espresso and the feel of a worn paperback in my hand. I brought my school books, sometimes a notebook, and just watched the world move around me. Then came Kennedy. When John F. Kennedy spoke, something in me listened more closely than usual. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. It struck something in me, even though I had no plans to run for office or join the Peace Corps. His words made me feel like I mattered, that someone like me, born of immigrants, caught between 2 worlds, could still have a place in the future. But that hope was fragile. In November 1963, the news broke across our school like a sudden storm. The television in the cafeteria crackled with the voice of Walter Cronkite announcing the president's assassination. Everything went still. Students stared in disbelief. Teachers cried. I sat at my lunch table, a cold tray untouched before me, and tried to make sense of the ache in my chest. All I could think was, this country is breaking again. I wasn't old enough to understand the full depth of what had been lost. But I knew something had shifted. Something vital, something bright. And yet, in that grief, something else also awakened. A desire to understand how the world worked, how power moved, how stories were told. Not just in textbooks, but by people like me.